So connection is key because in order for our staff to succeed, we want to ensure that they are receiving the adequate support. So we are promoting those connections amongst our staff members.
Hello there. My name is Monica Burns, and welcome to today's bonus episode of the Easy EdTech podcast. If you're used to joining me on Tuesdays for new episodes, you are in for a treat. This is a special bonus episode of the podcast in partnership with OneSchool Global. Just like on Tuesdays, these bonus episodes are designed to give you ideas you can try yourself, share with a colleague, or bookmark for later in the school year. If we mention something you'd like to check out, you'll find the link to it in the show notes. So don't forget to head to my website, easyedtechpodcast.com, for all of the links and resources from today's episode. This episode is sponsored by OneSchool Global. OneSchool Global is one of the world's largest and truly global schools, with 8,000 students and more than 120 campuses in 20 countries. At OneSchool Global, educators empower students to take ownership of their learning, underpinned by the school's signature pedagogy, the Learning to Learn framework. To find out more why educators say they discover the joy of teaching at OneSchool Global's and learn more about the school's innovative approach to learning and teaching, visit oneschoolglobal.com. That's schoolglobal.com. Today's episode is titled Teaching Across Time Zones, Tips for Connecting Classrooms, and today I'm chatting with Charlie Huynh all about connecting learners across campuses, countries, and grade levels. As the Director of Teaching and Learning for OneSchool Global's North American region, Charlie oversees curriculum for campuses across the US, Canada, and the Caribbean, and collaborates with colleagues all over the world. In our conversation, Charlie pulls back the curtain on the Learning to Learn framework, shares the story behind the perfect pitch competition, and explains how OneSchool Global balances a consistent global vision with flexibility for local context. Whether you're curious about global learning networks, looking for some fresh ideas for community engagement, or thinking about how to scale teacher collaboration across buildings and borders, Charlie has lots of practical insights to share. Let's jump into the conversation. Welcome to the podcast. I am just so excited to chat with you today about connecting learners in lots of different spaces and a few other topics. But before we get into all of that together, can you share a bit, what is your role in education? What does your day-to-day look like?
Yes, first off, good morning. Thank you so much for having me, Monica. I'm certainly excited and eager to be here. So my name is Charlie Huynh, and I am the Director of Teaching and Learning for OneSchool Global. So specifically for our North American region, I oversee the curriculum and implementation for our kindergarten to grade 6 students across our 36 campuses. And that includes our campuses in the United States, Canada, and the Caribbean. So I also oversee other initiatives across our kindergarten to grade 12 programs across our entire organization. And in terms of OneSchool Global, with our global model, a big part of my role is ensuring consistency without losing its flexibility. So we want students across North America and globally to have access to high quality learning while still allowing campuses to adapt the programming to their local context. But to achieve this, one of the exciting things is that I'm able to collaborate with some of our global counterparts all around the world. So even though for me specifically, I work with our North American campuses, we do have campuses in Europe, New Zealand, United Kingdom, Australia. So a big part of OneSchool is having those global connections. So it's very exciting for me to be able to have those opportunities to collaborate with some amazing colleagues where we're able to share resources and best practices to further enhance the overall student learning experience.
Yeah, well, I guess, just such a wide range of perspectives coming together with, that same mission and having, like you said, some consistency, of course, across different programs and spaces like the ones you mentioned, but then also that flexibility to make sure things feel just right, in a specific region or specific learning environment. So, how would you describe OneSchool Global's learning to learn approach in practice?
Yeah, so the foundation to all that we do is the Learning to Learn framework. And the goal of that framework is to develop self-directed students who learn how to learn. And we start by scaffolding the basic skills in our primary grade levels. And then as they transition from primary to middle school to secondary, we want them to be able to take full accountability of their learning. If they were already ready to do this in the primary grade levels, there really would be no purpose for educators. So as educators, we know that we need to scaffold these skills with our primary students. So for me specifically in my role, we develop programming where students are able to develop collaboration skills, communication skills, planning skills, and reflection skills. And for them to be able to develop these skills, they are slowly able to transfer these into different contexts of their education. And then hopefully they'll be able to apply them into context of the real world when they graduate after leaving our organization in grade 12. So it's very exciting because we are really moving away from the traditional way of learning. So I'm sure you can imagine when we were back in school, there were a lot of textbooks involved. There were a lot of worksheets involved. So with OneSchool Global, we have moved away from that and we have developed a lot of fun and hands-on engaging projects, tasks for students to really apply what they are learning. We really want to move away from the memorizing and recalling, but now truly apply what they are learning. And then from there, when they're learning in a fun and engaging way, we know they're going to be able to retain that knowledge for much longer than what they would be learning through, let's say, a textbook or worksheet questions.
Yeah. And what you just said about making sure that they're prepared to continue to learn, right, beyond, right, their experience, with you all. So once they hit that, grade 12, right, they're continuing to embody what it means to be a learner. And that's not something that can happen, right, necessarily on its own, right? Other, like you said, that support, that scaffolding, right, really fostering that curiosity, right, among students, the collaboration skills that you referenced. Like this is something where, that mission to support students really helps them build. When I work with schools and districts, I typically call that like the transferable skills, right? Like we're going to be able to pop this into all of the things that we do. So can you tell us about your extended learning initiatives and how they're developed, how they're extended, right, across different campuses?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, the real world application is really the core of all that we do. So we want to provide opportunities for students to extend what they're learning and to apply what they're learning as well. So in addition to what we are learning through our curriculum, we want to provide opportunities to collaborate with some of their peers, maybe outside of the United States, outside of Canada and the Caribbean. So what we have done is that we've developed a range of extended learning programs. A lot of these are optional for students, but we do actually have a lot of take up from our primary, our middle school, and our secondary students, depending on what those programs are. So some examples for our primary students involve the spelling bee, the public speaking competition. We have debate in middle school and secondary. We have perfect pitch. And I'm excited to go into a little bit more detail with these programs. But for a lot of these, they start at the local level where, like I said, we want to scaffold those skills. They're learning to become comfortable with applying some of these skills that they're learning with the students within their physical building. But what's great about the extended learning program is that we provide a regional platform. So once they finish the competition at the local level, they move on to the next round, which is a regional competition. And from there, we tend to have Zoom events where we invite stakeholders from all across North America to attend. So on these event nights, we tend to have a couple of hundred stakeholders sign on. And these include some of our students, our past graduates, parents, grandparents all over the world to support our students, which is so amazing to see. We really focus a lot on stakeholder engagement within our organization, and we achieve that through these extended learning programs. So one program in particular that I'm very proud of actually is the Perfect Pitch competition.
Mhm.
And this actually was developed 5 to 6 years ago, and it came to be due to the COVID era. So during COVID, we saw a lack of connection between our students. So we want to provide an opportunity for them to really showcase what they've learned and to connect with peers all around our campuses across North America. So I'm sure you might be familiar with Shark Tank or
Oh, yeah.
Dragon's Den. And our organization focuses a lot on entrepreneurial skills. So with the Perfect Pitch competition, we have students sign up and register in teams. And within their teams, they develop a service or an invention or a product. And then from there, they develop a business plan, they develop a promotional video, and then they promote it to a panel of experienced community members. So we have a live event, and it's truly like watching a Shark Tank episode, if you like call it. So they pitch their invention, their service, and they want to try to get an investment from one of our panelists. Of course, it's all for fun. However, the skills that they are learning and applying, these are real skills that they will be utilizing once leaving the organization. So this program here is offered to our secondary students. And what's amazing is that this started in North America. However, last school year, we brought it to the global level. So we had students signing up and they were put into teams with their peers in our other global regions. So we had students in North America collaborating with students in Europe, New Zealand, Australia. And as you can imagine with the time zones, it was a little bit challenging. However, for our organization, we did have some systems in place to help promote that. And it was amazing to see the products and the outcomes that came out of it. And what I am personally proud of is that we are now being recognized by some of these external awards. So for instance, next week, actually, I'll be attending the Regan Award ceremony because we were nominated for one of those for the Perfect Pitch competition. But these are just some examples of how we extend learning beyond the classroom, beyond the campus, and provide opportunities for students to really apply what they are learning. Because what we do in the classroom, that is not the end point. We want to have opportunities for students to apply and go beyond that. And that's how we achieve that within our extended learning programs.
Well, I love those real world applications, like the entrepreneurship connection, right? We can all kind of visualize, right? That pitch, right? The Shark Tank, the competition, the small groups that come together, what it looks like to share, to do the public speaking, kind of all of those pieces that really do have strong real world applications. So what does success look like in these initiatives from a student's perspective?
Yeah. So success varies depending on the peer. We want the students just to go out of their comfort zone and to participate in these extended learning programs. That is success for me. We have a lot of students who are nervous to kind of take part in these. However, it's so great to see more and more students sign up year after year because they see the range of peers that sign up and they're like, oh, if he or she can do it, maybe so can I. That is success to me. And the way it's measured varies, like I said, across all students. So I just want them to be able to go out of their comfort zones, to be able to speak in front of an audience, or to be able to collaborate with peers. That is what I love. And the most important thing is, are our students having fun? Because that is the purpose of these extended learning programs. We want to make learning fun. And the core focus of these programs is to apply learning, not just understand it. So I think that is how we are measuring our success. And with the participation rates we have been getting for all of our programs across primary, secondary, it's been amazing to see. And I'll give you one example here. For our spelling bee and public speaking, we did it with our grades 3 to grade 12 students. And we do have our kindergarten grade 1 and 2 students. However, we never opened it up to those grade levels. However, last school year, I received a couple of persuasive letters created by our kindergarten and grade 1 students advocating to be part of these programs because they saw their older peers participating and they said, you know what, we can do it as well. So they were wanting us to offer it to these lower primary grade levels. And what we did is, as of last school year, we started offering the spelling bee competition, the public speaking competition to these grade levels. And it's been such an amazing experience to see our youngest students on these regional platforms speaking in front of the audience. And it just continues to refine their skills. Some of these programs we've been offering for a few years now. So I've seen some of our students begin in primary and now they are in secondary grade levels. it's amazing to see the progress and the growth that they've displayed year after year. So that's what excites me as an educator.
Gosh, yeah, you can just, imagine what it's like for someone to maybe start off as a third grader. And then, by the time they're in eighth grade, like, what is that experience? How is that developed for them? And gosh, I love the idea of, a first, a second, maybe a kindergartner doing that persuasive activity to say, like, I want in, right? And even
Yes.
that, in its own kind of isolated way, right, is a real world, right, application, right, of their learning, right? It's not just the hook for a persuasive piece of writing. It's what am I hoping to receive, right, by sharing
Exactly.
this message, right, with someone or trying to convince them of. So, you alluded a bit to the community involvement with
Yeah.
stakeholders joining, some of the Zooms or some of these different competitions to, watch and see what's happening. Why is community involvement so important to the One School global model?
Yeah, so stakeholder engagement is very important to us because we want everybody to be accountable of their learning. We want the students to be proud of what they're learning, but we want them to be able to showcase it in front of an audience. And
Mhm.
that just does not mean the educators and the staff themselves, but we want to go beyond that and have them showcase it to their families as well. Because when we are celebrating the student's success with everybody involved, that buy-in and that ownership of the student, they're going to be even more proud of what they are showcasing. So we believe highly in involving everybody within the school community. So we constantly develop initiatives for parents to come in as well, to be part of the learning experience with our students. I'm going to provide a primary example here because I oversee the primary
Right.
curriculum developments. But every quarter, we try to develop a summative assessment that involves inviting the stakeholders in, inviting the parents, the grandparents in. So most recently, we were learning how to write letters and how to kind of speak in front of an audience. So we did a letters of appreciation night or events during the day, and we invited our parents and grandparents in, and we had the students read aloud their letters
Oh my
to
goodness.
the person that they appreciate. And this was part of our cross-curricular assignment revolving around heroes and heroines. So it
Mhm.
was so great to see the students identifying their parents or grandparents or siblings as their heroes. And we definitely had a few tears
My
here and
gosh, I
there,
can't.
but
Yeah.
it was wonderful to see these events take place across our 36 campuses across North America. But this was just one example of how we invite our stakeholders in. But through our extended learning programs as well, we want the stakeholders to be involved. So going back to the perfect pitch, it's easy to have a panel of, let's say, staff members pretending to be the sharks, but we wanted to go
Totally.
one step beyond that. We invited real community owners, successful businesses, and we had parents come in and act as panelists. And it was so amazing to see them take on that role.
Mhm.
And it truly was a community event, and everybody was celebrating the success of the students. So it's personally, I find it's very important to have that open door and have parents and grandparents and other families feel comfortable in coming in and be part of that learning experience. And it's our job as educators to open that door and provide those opportunities for them.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Just that authentic audience for, these experiences changes the whole dynamic of, a student's why, right? Like, why are they
Exactly.
doing this? Why are they dedicating time to, create something? And, you mentioned the assessment design process, right? And the summative assessments and what that, looks like with that fantastic example and connection to the hero heroine
Yeah.
unit of study. So, how does One School Global embed inclusivity into curriculum design and student experiences?
Yeah. So everything that we develop, we want to ensure that the students see the relevance behind that. And we want the students to see themselves in the resources that we are providing. So that may include short stories, some of the novels that we are reading. We want it to reflect our audience, which is our students. So like I said at the start of our call here, we have students in the Caribbean, we have students in our Canadian provinces, and we
Yeah.
have students all across the US. And their upbringing differs depending where they are located.
Mhm.
So we want to ensure that we are reviewing different resources that take into account the diversity that we see amongst our student population. So we are very strategic in what we develop and what we include in our units of study. Because like I said, we want the students to see themselves in what they are reading. And then from there, they can become empowered and apply what they're truly learning. Because if they're not connecting with the resource, the buy-in there will be lacking. We won't see the engagement from
Yeah.
our students. However, if they see themselves reflected in the content, then we'll see the more engagement from our students. So that's how we try to really promote more inclusivity, more diversity within our curriculum for our students. One big thing that we do within our organization also is differentiation. So we also want to ensure that all of what we do is accessible for our students, whether you are really advanced at this one area of learning, or maybe you're struggling with some of these skills. We want to offer a range of resources that students can access. So in everything that we do in let's say, English language arts, we tend to provide different leveled readers for our students, even if it's a short story. AI is a great tool these days because you can take a short story, put it in AI, and then get these different levels of
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
tech for our students. That way, the students can access the material and be part of that learning. Because the worst thing you can do is give these materials to our students. However, the student is struggling to read it, and now they're struggling to connect to the activity, and there is no buy-in from that student. So it's very important to differentiate with the different skill levels that you have in front of you within your campus as well.
Yeah, and just that idea of making sure those resources are just right, that can mean a few different things, right, for different students, and leveraging some of the technology, some of the digital tools, the AI component, like you mentioned, there's a wide range of opportunities to really, make that happen. Now, when we first jumped on together today, you mentioned that, challenge, right, or that goal of balancing consistency, right, from a global program and relevancy for more local, right, implementation of different curriculum, different resources. So how does One School Global support teachers in adapting, to a more global model?
Yeah. So we promote the sharing of resources quite a bit with our organization. So connection is key. I've actually been with OneSchool Global for 12, 13 years now. So I've seen the growth that we've gone through from day one to now year 12, year 13. So back when I started, we were all working within our silos. So I'm actually located in Canada. So I only collaborated with those within my building. However, over the years now, we are seeing collaboration taking place across borders, across countries, which is amazing to see. So connection is key because in order for our staff to succeed, we want to ensure that they are receiving the adequate support.
Yeah.
So we are promoting those connections amongst our staff members. We have a Microsoft Teams chat, and the amount of resources that are being shared within that is amazing to see, because as educators, why are we reinventing the wheel each time? We are sharing our units of study. We are sharing the tasks that we are developing. We are sharing the differentiated materials, the resources. And I am a true believer of having those authentic opportunities to collaborate with others, because it's no fun doing it all on your own. We want our students to collaborate. Why are we not modeling that as well as educators? So it's very important to build those professional connections and go outside of our comfort zones to maybe try a new activity that has been suggested by a colleague and see the results within our own campuses. So one way we do that within our organization is providing those opportunities for staff to really connect and bond. And from there, you see such great development.
Oh, yeah.
One activity that's taking place right now actually is our Pen Pal program. And the key focus of this is building connections. We had staff come together. We shared our resources. We developed this amazing program. It truly was a collaborative effort to put this together. And now we have our students writing letters to one another across different countries and campuses. So it's truly great to see the faces of our students light up and say, "Oh my goodness, where is your student located? My student's located all the way in Barbados, and here I am located in a Canadian city." So it's so great to see our students get excited about establishing and building those connections. And I want to see that excitement as well from our staff members.
Yeah, and you mentioned, right, some of the ways that, your team leverages technology from a student experience, right? Like we're going to have this competition on Zoom and connect that way. We mentioned it from the teacher experience, leveraging technology like Teams to make sure everyone feels supported, as they're developing resources and sharing things and, having a collaborative environment. What tends to draw educators to One School Global, and what helps them stay?
Yeah. I would say that collaborative aspect. We truly are one family, as cliche as that sounds, but
Mhm.
we want to get together as often as possible. We want to develop and further improve those relationships as well. The exciting thing about One School Global is that every 2 years we have an all-staff conference. So we pick a city where one of our campuses are located, and we bring everybody together across North America. So just this past summer, actually, we had everybody from the Caribbean, the United States, and Canada fly into Boston. And that is
Mhm.
where we had our all-staff conference. And the purpose of that is bringing everybody together is to share those best practices, get everybody excited for the school year, and to develop those initial connections. And then following that conference, everybody goes back to their own campuses. But what we are focused on is continuing to establish and build those connections. So we have our monthly department meetings, and we provide other opportunities for staff to connect. But that's one exciting thing about One School Global. I feel that everybody is excited to be part of that network because we are sharing so many resources together. That workload and demand kind of lessens because now you
Yeah.
don't have to
Mhm.
build that entire unit yourself, but rather we had a team develop that, and now you can use it, adapt it to your students, make any changes needed locally, like I mentioned before, with your local
Mhm.
context. But the exciting thing now, you're seeing students across our 36 campuses doing the same thing, and we're having students sign on to Zoom, and we're doing presentations together, and
Mhm.
we're having these celebrations together. So it's nice to see that consistency, yet there is some flexibility there for our campuses. And I feel that that is what's bringing people to One School Global.
I would imagine, right? Just having that community is so crucial, right? For everyone to feel, right, successful, right, as they're building things and creating these exciting learning experiences for their students. So before I ask, where people can connect with you, where they can learn about your work, of course, I'll link out to all sorts of things on the show notes page where people are listening to this episode. Can you tell us just kind of quickly, how has One School Global evolved in the past few years and what comes next?
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm on year 12, year 13, and we've seen
Mhm.
such growth over the years. We've moved from having a one size fits all to personalized growth with our students. So,
Mhm.
within these units that we are developing, you'll see a lot of pathways for students to really apply and showcase their learning. Not every student is working on the exact same task or the exact same project. There are options now for students. So, as an organization, within the last 2 years, we really focus on offering pathways for our students because this plays into that differentiation piece. Another thing that we've seen with our organization over the years is going from isolated subjects to integrated learning. So you'll see a lot of cross-curricular units now, cross-curricular learning taking place. We have a lot of STEM integration. We have literacy across all subjects. And then one of the main things that I've seen is being very summative heavy to balanced assessment. So we have more weight on ongoing formative assessment because
Okay.
in order for students to truly take accountability of their learning, that feedback cycle is very important. We want students to be able to sit down, to have those conferences with their teachers one-on-one, to understand where they can improve with a particular task. Because from there, we want the students to apply what they've learned, make those improvements, and then from there, they're taking accountability of their overall learning. And that's part of our learning to learn framework. So that
Mhm.
is one thing that's another thing that we have seen over the years. And this all relates together with the learning to learn framework. And we're using digital tools lately now with the
Yeah.
involvement of a lot of our tech tools to help drive this. Technology is no longer a way to just deliver instruction. We've seen the use of PowerPoints in the very traditional
Mhm.
way of learning. But now we're finding digital tools being used to promote collaboration, to promote more communication with our students. And we're seeing such amazing, high quality learning taking place with our students. So I'm excited to see more integration of digital tools as we continue to evolve as an organization, but we're definitely on the right track. And I'm excited to see things that are coming out from our staff members.
Amazing. And just such a great way to kind of do full circle from where we started, right? With that learning to learn approach and that being the continuing mission, right? Moving forward. So as I
Exactly.
mentioned, I will link out to things so everyone can find and follow along. But for anyone who's, on the go, making more of that mental bookmark, where can people connect with you? Where can they learn more about your work?
Yes, so we do have a website so you can learn more about our organization. We are OneSchool Global. And then from there, you can learn more about, let's say, the North America region or our regions in Europe, New Zealand, Australia, or the United Kingdom. We are also on social media, so you can find OneSchool Global on LinkedIn or Instagram. But you'll be able to see all of the amazing things that are taking place from primary to middle school and secondary. But I certainly invite you to check us out because we are doing some amazing and exciting things, and we are constantly looking for members to be part of this exciting organization.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time, your strategies, your insight that you shared today.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me, Monica.
This was such a fun conversation, and I want to finish it up like we always do with some key points from the episode to help make this EdTech easy. Scaffolding collaboration, communication, planning, and reflection skills in primary grades prepares students to transfer those skills into real-world contexts. Hands-on projects and tasks help students apply learning and retain it longer than traditional textbooks and worksheets. Extended learning programs like Perfect Pitch give students an authentic stage to apply what they have learned beyond the classroom. Stakeholder engagement with parents, grandparents, graduates, and community members creates authentic audiences that deepen student buy-in and ownership. Remember, you can find the show notes and the full list of resources from this episode by heading to easyedtechpodcast.com, including all of the ways to connect with the team at OneSchool Global. Thanks again to OneSchool Global for sponsoring this episode. With over 120 campuses globally, there's a world of opportunity open to educators. If you're interested in teaching with a globally connected, future-focused learning model, you can explore opportunities and learn more at OneSchool Global at oneschoolglobal.com. That's schoolglobal.com. If you're listening to today's episode on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or maybe another favorite app, don't forget to hit the follow button. When you follow along with the podcast, each new episode will download for you automatically so you don't miss a thing. And if you have a moment and are feeling extra helpful today, please leave a rating or review for the podcast. It helps other educators find an episode like this one when they're searching for topics like EdTech in their podcast app. Have a great week and check back on Tuesday morning for another new episode of the Easy EdTech podcast.